I said it after the Everton game, Arsenal needed to respond and they didn't do it. Last week they lost to Everton, they were second best, they thoroughly deserved to lose, and that was for the first time this season. When they lost against Man United early on in the season, you could say maybe they're a bit unlucky. It was quite fortunate from Man United's point of view, and you know what, they can hold their head up high and they didn't deserve to lose. Against Everton last weekend they definitely did, and again today they deserve to drop points because Arsenal didn't deserve to win the game. I thought against Everton it was a lacklustre performance, and that game showed that there's a blueprint to playing against Arsenal. Brentford play a slightly different way to the way Everton did. I mean, Brentford play with a back three, but they still did similar things to Everton. The fact that they overloaded the wide players and wide areas, they double teamed them, they tried to prevent Martin Odegaard from getting the ball, and Nketiah didn't have any chances really. And Brentford did really, really well, and the game kind of followed a similar pattern against Everton. The first 15-20 minutes, Arsenal looked the sharper team. However, they lack a bit of cutting edge in that final third. Everything apart from the finishing, getting shots off, they were doing really, really well. And then it gets about 15-20 minutes, and then Brentford get a few corners. They get one corner, which gets deflected, and then they get another one, and you kind of think to yourself, okay, this is exactly what happened against Everton as well. Toney had a chance in which Mbeumo did really well down Arsenal's right against Brentford's left. And then he should have scored. He hit the crossbar. And earlier on, a lovely piece of play down Arsenal's left, and the ball gets put across the box. And Rico Henry, who has done really well so far this season when he stayed fit, I don't know. I mean, if he was a defender in that situation, what a great clearance. But he should have scored that as well. And you think to yourself, Arsenal should be 2-0 up at this moment in time. And it was really... You could tell there's a bit of tension at the Emirates. I mean, the fans are trying to get behind the team because of the fact that they're at home and, you know, they've just lost a game against Everton. People like myself and other fan channels and other fans are saying that, do you know what? Arsenal, could they maybe be slipping? Could City be catching them up? And this is an opportunity against a really, really good Brentford team to just put the doubters to bed and say, no, do you know what? It's just a blip. And I said this in my reaction against Everton, that Arsenal could not afford to drop points again, because now they've only won 2 of the last 5, and all of a sudden the narrative is there and it's developing that, oh well, with City is the next game on Wednesday night, that Arsenal dropping points, are they slipping ground? And again, for the second game week in a row, they've played first ahead of City and they've failed to capitalise on that opportunity to go further in the lead. And so if Man City beat Aston Villa and then beat Arsenal, then all of a sudden Man City are ahead of Arsenal in the league. And it's one where I really want Arsenal to win the league because of the fact that City have been so dominant for so long, that I just think it's just nice to have someone else win the league, and a team who Arteta has built this team so well, from the hard decisions he's made to selling the players to bringing in the right players and the right key players as well in key positions, making them hard to beat, solid defensively, creatively. They're so amazing to watch in an attacking sense, that the fluidity of the football, it's kind of a mixture of Arsene Wenger, tiki-taka, along with the Invincibles' strength and solidarity. That's just amazing to watch. But they're faltering at this moment in time. And I think Arsenal, that first half was difficult to watch because there wasn't really many clear-cut chances. Obviously, I mentioned Brentford had the Toney chance, the Rico Henry chance, Ben Mee as well from a corner, and from a team that's been so solid all season from set pieces. All of a sudden now, teams get corners against them, and you kind of think, okay, so what are they going to do? And it's going to be a big threat, because James Tarkowski scored for Everton from a corner last week, and now Ben Mee has a great chance, and I think it's almost his own player who gets in his own way. And if it wasn't for that, Brentford could have been 1-0 up going into half-time, and it had very, very similar vibes. And I know it's 2 different teams, 2 different ways of nullifying Arsenal, but a lot of similarities, and there's a blueprint emerging for teams who don't have the quality that Arsenal have, and that I don't think that's unfair to say, because Arsenal top of the league, they have amazing amounts of quality that other teams can, they can really get at Arsenal. And then again, Arsenal come out in the second half. Again, first 15-20 minutes, they do really, really well. And then that man, Trossard, comes on. And it was before going into the game, I did think to myself that maybe this was an opportunity to start Trossard ahead of Martinelli. I think Martinelli has had an amazing season. He's been world class for most of the season, up for 17, 18 games so far. But he's kind of dipped a little bit in form over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think at home, when you've got Trossard, you've got the support of the fans, don't think there's any reason you couldn't have made that change. I think Mikel Arteta is a very loyal man, and that's something where he differs from his mentor and Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola, he rotates and rotates and rotates, and no one can predict Pep Roulette. And a player can have 3 great games, and then all of a sudden he finds himself on the bench, or maybe not even the matchday squad. And I think Arteta needed to start Trossard ahead of Martinelli, which I got nothing against, because he's playing at a world-class level, but he just had a little dip in form. And for a 21-year-old, I think the way he plays, he's so intense that he's maybe just a little bit fatigued or tired, or just a bit of bad luck at this moment in time. And there's nothing wrong with playing Trossard, but Trossard takes his chance. And it's the first time that Saka and Trossard, the 2 wingers for Arsenal, found themselves free from their respective wing backs, because all game they've been doubled up. And then lovely bit of play from Bukayo Saka to make that run on the inside, getting away from his man, and then for Trossard to appear on the back post. And then the whole Brentford back line, who've been doing really well so far, just look at themselves and go, how on earth has that happened? Almost from out of nowhere. And I was fully ready to say, you know what, Arsenal, got to give them respect where it's due. This is the performance where you win 1-0 to the Arsenal, and then you show everyone that in the game that you haven't played your best, that you've still got the 3 points, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day, getting those 3 points. But then Brentford responded, and it's Ivan Toney, that man Ivan Toney, who's obviously Arsenal fans from watching the documentary know there's no love lost between Ivan Toney and Arsenal, with him infamously tweeting just had a good kick about with the lads and adding Arsenal, and then Mikel Arteta saying, I still think about this tweet and I still think about Ivan Toney. And then for him to score the goal, who would have thought it? And a set piece routine. We did get checked by VAR, but I didn't really think it was anything giving. And then Zinchenko to be blocked off, Gabriel to be blocked off from the corner. Ivan Toney just put the ball in initially to the back post, and then Fritz's way to find back to Ivan Toney. And then 1-1, I think, to say, can Arsenal do something here? Again, having to find a goal, 15-20 minutes to go. And in the end, they couldn't. And it was a game where, again, Arsenal can say to themselves they didn't deserve to win the game. And I think that's the worst part. You can have games where you dominate, because they had 71% possession in the first half. They dominated Brentford, but without creating clear-cut chances. And I think that's the biggest issue, or the biggest, I wouldn't say issue, maybe more small concern, is the fact that Eddie Nketiah hasn't been getting those chances. He had one against Everton, but he didn't really have some today where you thought to yourself, he should have scored. And it might be a bit different against City on Wednesday, because of the fact that City are going to not play the same way that Everton and Brentford did, and it's going to be a completely different setup. And they're going to leave space in behind. They're going to maybe create more, leave themselves more exposed to more chances for Arsenal to create, and maybe that's something to look at. But it's Arsenal need to win these games. It doesn't matter if they beat Man City twice; they've got to win other games against teams lower down the table. And Brentford are doing really well. They're not even that far down the table. They're ahead of my team, Liverpool. But it's, I don't know. I don't want them to be bottling it. I don't want them to be dropping points at this moment in time, because there's still a hell of a lot longer to go. There's 16, 17 games to go, and hopefully this is just a blip. This is just a February blip after exerting themselves so much. I mean, there's an international break coming in a few game weeks' time, and maybe that'll be good for Arsenal. Just regroup and just say, look lads, we've been really intense. We're going really at it for the league so far this season, but let's regroup. But the issue is Europa League's back as well, and obviously I don't think Arsenal are going to play the best players in that. They're going to rotate a bit, but there are some serious obstacles and serious questions coming up, and they've got to answer them. And arguably, because it's something for City, they've got the Champions League coming up, and that could distract their focus if they also kind of pull away a little bit to this moment in time, which I thought they would do. They haven't, and so Arsenal will still win the league, in my opinion. I think they will. I think the game against City, so much is riding on the line. It just depends if youth or experience, which one wins, because Jesus is not going to be available for that game. Zinchenko is, but how much can he affect the game from left back? Really, you need the likes of Martin Odegaard, Saka, Thomas Partey, Xhaka, and Nketiah all to step up. And I think this is the second game week in a row in which Martin Odegaard hasn't really had a great game. And again, wouldn't be surprised if he got subbed off. I didn't think he was having a great game at all. Obviously, he's your captain. He's arguably your talisman, your creative midfielder, your best player, arguably. But he, again, did not have a great game. Questions from Mikel Arteta. And I think, before I go, the one thing I do want to point out is it's the second time that at the end of the game, Arsenal have lost their heads. I think that corner Brentford had late on, in which there was a bit of a kerfuffle going on. It was a terrible, terrible tackle by Norgard, and he lost the control of his footing there a bit, and you could have maybe made a case for it should be more than just a yellow. But it's the second time in 2 weeks that Arsenal lost their heads at the end of a game, and Mikel Arteta's calmed down a bit, but on the inside he must be absolutely fuming because his team are slipping a little bit. Not bottling, but they are slipping a little bit, and Wednesday is so huge. But it could be even more huge depending on what City do tomorrow against Aston Villa. But we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, City lost to Spurs after Arsenal lost to Everton, so we'll see, can City this time capitalise? I mean, you give them one chance and they don't take it, but you surely think this. If you give them 2 chances, City will take it. And so, Wednesday night, all eyes. Let's see what happens.